Okay, I just want to go through a few examples of the issues that I'm finding in the reporting so that I can better describe the kind of reports that I'm trying to pull. So I have this dashboard that I've completed, and I've put two different reports on this dashboard, and I'm confused about why the information that's in these two reports is the same, because I'm pulling from the same, what I think is the same data pools. So this first one that I have is, and I can go into the edit in the analyzer option so you can see the variables that I'm pulling. But essentially with this one, I've organized it so that the card title is the DIB training certification. I only want to know about that training. The card type is the journey, and that just helped me narrow down and easily find the right journey card that I'm tracking completions on. The department, I chose all the departments, and I'm assuming that this department variable is coming in from the HRIS integration. The group name, I chose the GitLab internal team members because I only want to check this completion for team members. And then for performance, I checked everything in unchecked completions. And this is actually something that I wanted to highlight as well, because it's really inconsistent. For example, if you're adding performance metrics, the one that you want to track, you have to uncheck and check everything else. But for departments, the ones that you want to track, you have to check. So it's like they're opposites of each other. And I have no idea what other ones are like that. I more just have to, trial and error until I find the one, until I know the right way if I check it or if I uncheck it. Okay, so like I said, performance, I have checked everything to remove them and left total completions unchecked. And then the user account status I didn't fill in, but I would fill it in as active, and then excluded from leaderboard. I don't really care about this. So then what I was able to do, you can drag and drop these variables in the data that are filtering the data onto this map, onto this chart. So I dragged the department. So I want the department tracked along the x-axis and the count of performance metric, which in this case is completions, along the y. And so I can see that according to this data, the development team, the development department has 91 completions, product management 23, and so forth. So if I go back to the dashboard, I can see that that's showing up here. And to me, this looks pretty accurate. This is telling me based on these departments, how many people have completed. But then there's this one. So, and to go back for a second, in this one, I took a content first approach. And so I made these edits on a content. I used the top 20 content report to get it started, to drill into that. With this one, I wanted to filter by groups that we already have in GitLab Learn, because we're going to want to really leverage those groups to find out completion and user status based on members in that group, so that we can say, X% of this group completed the certification. So I was expecting that this, since the groups that we've built in GitLab Learn pull from the HRIS integration information about department, I was expecting this information to map directly to this information based on the title of the department and the title of the corresponding group. But as you can see, that's not happening. I can go into the edit and analyzer to show you what's happening here. So again, I have the card title is the same, DIB training certification. The card type, I've narrowed it down to journeys so that I'm only seeing this certification. The group names, I've gone through and I've selected all of the groups that I see here. However, this is not all of the groups. And I've unchecked everyone and unchecked team members because I don't want to duplicate the count, and I just want to see based on groups that people are in. I'll come back to this in a second, but then same with performance metric. I've checked everything and unchecked completions. I've put on the x-axis the group name, just like I had department in the other chart, and the y-axis the count of performance. And as you can see, I mean, it's an incredibly different chart. The development is the development department on the other chart has 91 completions, but development as a group isn't showing up here. So either I'm doing something very wrong with the reporting, and I'm not sure what I'm missing with this tool. So I definitely need a training on this tool. Another thing that's coming to mind is I wonder if the groups that are using these variables from our HRIS integration aren't actually working. If that first report that I showed in this recording is the source of truth, then perhaps members of the development team aren't actually being put into the development group, and so then they're not showing up on this report. I'm not sure. But there's some disconnect between those variables that are coming in for users and then how they're showing up in these groups. So then another thing I want to show, when I said I'd come back to the groups, when we were on office hours earlier today, Vic mentioned that potentially one of the issues could be that the reason that it's not showing up as complete or incomplete from the group level is because of assignments. So the way I understood that was Vic was saying, if I want to see how many completions have been done on a certain pathway in a specific group, then I need to assign that pathway to the group, which isn't great because we don't want to do that for all of our groups. But if that is the case, then what I understand it is that either someone in the group has to take the pathway on their own for it to show up as any completions for that group, or you have to assign the pathway to the group so that you can see even if 0 people have completed the pathway. So then I'm testing that right now. I assigned myself some pathways that I'm then going to see tomorrow if they show up in the reporting. But I thought, okay, maybe I can just test this for myself and see if it works. So I went into group names here on this same report. And so these groups are not all the groups that we have in EdCast. So if I go back to the admin panel and I go to groups, I mean, there's way more groups here than there are showing up to be able to choose here. But I was wondering, okay, let's see field marketing, because field marketing is coming up on here that one person in the field marketing group has completed the DIB certification that I'm tracking here. I wanted to see if that was assigned to anyone in the field marketing group. So I went to the group and it's not. There's 2 assigned learnings and the DIB certification isn't one of them. So it could be that the reason that it's showing up in this report is that even though it hasn't been assigned, one person from the field marketing department took it, and so it's showing up here. But I'm still waiting to test the other thing, if it's assigned, because essentially what I want to be able to see that 0 people from a certain group have taken the certification. But the way that Vic makes it sound in office hours today is that unless the pathway is assigned, I can't even see if 0 people have taken whatever pathway or whatever piece of content I'm talking about. So those are, I think, the 2 main issues that I've found with reporting so far for trying to build out reports on completion in Domo that are specific to certain pathways.